Week 1 of VCT Americas Stage 2 2024 featured some huge upsets and some very competitive matches. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going over the first weekend of the VCT Americas Stage 2, which featured some very surprising results. So this is the board we have today. We have all the matches that have happened in Week 1, and we're going to be starting with talking about Leviathan versus MIBR. Now usually with MIBR there wouldn't be a lot to talk about with this roster, but this is a new version of MIBR, and it also featured the return of Shazam to Pro Valorant. Now Shazam was only in as a stand-in because their new player Rich couldn't make this match due to visa issues, so it was an interesting time to see Shazam back, but this result does go in the way of most of the MIBR matches so far this year. Leviathan were able to get the 2-0 victory. We do have some new faces on MIBR, so this result is not too surprising. Playing with the stand-in is tough in most contexts, unless you're Team Heretics playing with Patatek, but it's especially difficult when you're playing a team like Leviathan. Looking at map 1, we do see that this one goes in the way of Leviathan, 13-9. Pretty competitive first half, 6-6 at the half, so looking closer than expected. But during the second half, MIBR would lose control. They only got 3-round wins. Leviathan won the rest. So Leviathan steal MIBR's map pick, and then they go on their own map pick, which was Icebox. Leviathan had the momentum coming out of map 1, and they continued it into the first half, 9-3. They only needed 4. MIBR tried their best, but they couldn't get it done. This match goes in the way of Leviathan. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Leviathan, we have Kane, who went 34, 24, and 16 for plus 10. Very solid performance by him and Ozpos as usual. And on the side of MIBR, we have Mazine, who went 35, 29, and 15 for plus 6. So decent performance from him. As I said, this is not a result that was too unexpected. Leviathan are one of the best teams in Americas, unless, well, you're my comment section saying that it's ridiculous for me to put them at number 3 when I did my power rankings last week, but not that this match is going to prove those people right or anything, because this is MIBR, one of the worst teams in the league. But hey, MIBR, maybe there's still something here. Maybe once they get Rich in the lineup, they're definitely not making playoffs, but maybe they can build off of something for next year. Moving on, we have a Clash of Titans type match, at least when it comes to clout. We have Sentinels versus Energy. For Energy, this was the first match of the new roster, bringing back familiar faces in FNS and Som. And while this team definitely looked better than the team that we saw during Stage 1, Sentinels are a very good team. This is a tough match to start with. And while Energy did look better than the roster in Stage 1, this is Sentinels. Sentinels are looking for a bounce back of their own. They're a pretty good team, and they've had a lot more time to prepare. It is going to take a minute for FNS and Som to really fit in once again, and unfortunately, Sentinels, they're a really tough team to beat. Looking at map 1, we have Lotus, which was Energy's pick. This one would go in the way of Sentinels, 13-8, and I just gotta say, what was Chet thinking with this map pick? I understand that Chet is a very anti-strat heavy coach, but it is very frustrating to see him usually always pick the opposing team's best map. I understand you have a game plan, I understand you have a lot of footage of this team on this map, but I just don't like choosing the other team's best map. You aren't playing to their weaknesses, you're playing to their strengths, hoping to exploit things that you have seen in their game, but it did not work this time. While Energy would win the pistol, Sentinels would end the first half 8-4. Energy would get in within one round of them, but then Sentinels won 4 in a row to end the map. And then we go to Sunset, which is another map that Sentinels are very good on. In fact, they picked this one. And just to point it out, if they went to map 3, it would have been Split, which is another map that's very good for Sentinels. Chet, man, please. Anyways, talking about Sunset, Sentinels did take a very commanding lead to start. 9-3 going into the second half, looking like this is going to be a quick one, and Sentinels do get the pistol and the next round. But Energy would bring it back and end up tying the game going into overtime. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep the momentum going into overtime, and Sentinels would get the only 2 rounds there. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Sentinels, we have Zekin looking like his Madrid form. He went 46, 33, and 21 for plus 13. Maybe all this rest time really helped him. On the side of Energy, Ethan didn't have terrible numbers. He went 32, 34, and 23 for -2. So for Energy, listen, I know people are excited about the new roster, are excited about FNS and Som returning, but as I pointed out in my video about this new roster, their schedule is very tough. They are in the harder group. They are facing against teams that are looking for bounce backs of their own or looking to continue their strong momentum. Even though this roster should be better than their Stage 1, that Stage 1 might have just screwed them over for the rest of the year, because it's going to be really hard to dig yourself out of this hole, especially when now you've gone yet another loss. Every game is a must win for this team, especially they need to try to not lose maps at all, which is a very tall task. So we'll see what happens for this team, but I'm not setting my expectations very high, at least not as high as the community has, because I don't see a world where they're in a group with G2, who just placed top 3, with Crew, who went 5-1 during stage 1, versus, Sentinels, who just beat them. It is a very tough group, and that stage 1 kind of shot themselves in the foot there. But it's not over yet. We will see what happens. Moving on, we have the Sunday matches, 2 pretty big upsets. At least one of them is seen as a very big upset. We have Furia not only beating 100 Thieves, but 2-0ing them. I genuinely don't know what happened in this one. This was a very odd match. While it was a 2-0 victory on the side of Furia, both maps did go into overtime, so really this match could have gone either way, but 100 Thieves being a team that people see as the best in Americas, me included, this was not the showing that I thought we were going to see. And the playoff implications for this match are actually very bad, because 100 Thieves, they now have a 3-3 record. So even though they got extra championship points, this does hurt their playoff chances just that little bit. There is still a very high chance because of those championship points that they should be in playoffs. But this match should have been a free win for them, right? Furia and MIBR, those are the free win teams. But for Furia, even though they just made one roster change, bringing in Zand, this team looks a lot better than what they did in Stage 1. Looking at Map 1, we have Icebox, which was a 14-12 win in favor of Furia. 100 Thieves get the early jump, winning the first 4 rounds in a row, but then Furia would bring it back and take the lead, winning 5 rounds in a row, but they would end the half 6-6. Then 100 Thieves win the pistol and the next round, so this is where they should be taking over, right? Well, no, because Furia proceed to win the next round, and then 100 Thieves win 1, 2 in a row for Furia, 1 for 100 Thieves, 3 in a row for Furia. So they got themselves to match point. 100 Thieves needed to tie it. They did end up doing it, but then Furia win the only 2 rounds of overtime. They take the first map. But hey, we've seen Furia win maps before. They in Stage 1, they won, I think it was 2 maps total. Some of those were even blowout maps where they just destroy the other team. So hey, we've seen this before. It'll be okay. It'll be fine, right, 100 Thieves fans? No, it would not. Haven, which was 100 Thieves' pick, was a 16-14 win in favor of Furia. So both maps were incredibly close, but Furia took a very early lead. Winning the first 4 in a row, 100 Thieves were only able to get 3 rounds on their defense side, 9-3 at the half for Furia. So this is where 100 Thieves realized, oh wait, we could actually lose this, and they proceed to win 5 rounds in a row. Furia would then get 1, 100 Thieves would get 2, but then Furia would get to match point. 100 Thieves needing to tie it again, they would do it. Overtime would go a bit differently. Furia won the first one, 100 Thieves won, and then they won the next one. They're at match point now. And then nope, Furia shut it down. They win the next one, then the other 2. 16-14 win, 100 Thieves loses to Furia. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Furia, who else but Khalil, who was just frying this match. 53, 32, and 19 for plus 21. Insane numbers. Where was this guy Stage 1? On the side of 100 Thieves, we have Asuna with the least mediocre numbers on the team. He went 39, 41, and 24 for -2. And a special shout out to Zand, who while on Furia did have the worst stats out of everybody and was the lowest amount of kills in the entire match. Some of his kills were extremely important kills. I believe he got a couple in overtime. He got some really clutch plays. So while he didn't have great stats during this match, maybe he's what this team needed. For Furia, this just looks like a completely different team. As I said, in Stage 1, they only won 2 maps, but at least one of those maps, if I'm remembering correctly, was like a 13-1, so they have shown ability to beat teams. Unfortunately, during Stage 1, they just didn't show ability to close out matches, but this was a much better showing. Again, it could have gone in the way of 100 Thieves. It was very close, but if you're a Furia fan, this is what you needed to see. This is what you wanted to see. Maybe teams take this team a little more seriously now. We'll see. And for 100 Thieves, really bad loss. You have to win these matches, and Boostio, well, he's retired now because he tweeted before this match started that if they lost, he would retire. So, hey, good career from Boostio, world champion, but, comes to an unfortunate and short end. So, we'll see where it goes. Moving on to the second of the Sunday matches, we have Evil Geniuses beating Loud 2-1. Now, if you look at this one on paper, maybe it's not a huge upset. These two teams did have the same exact record during Stage 1, but I definitely would classify this as at least a little bit of an upset because Loud, they have the world champion quality, history. So do EG, but Loud have consistently and for longer been the better team than Evil Geniuses. And even though Loud is having a down year, even this year, people would consider them the better team heading into this match. But Evil Geniuses, I'm telling you, man, this team is good. At the very least, they have a lethal weapon in Giacomo who might be able to drag this team to a playoff spot. Looking at map 1, we have Lotus, which was Loud's pick, and they would win this one 13-7. Pretty close first half 6-6, but then Loud would take a commanding lead, only allowing EG to get one win on their defense side. But then Sunset, which has been a pretty good map for EG, would be a flip of the first map. Evil Geniuses would win this one 13-6. 6-6 at the half, but then Evil Geniuses took control and didn't allow Loud to get any on their attack side. Then Icebox, a closer affair. Evil Geniuses would end the first half 7-5 in the lead. They would continue that, winning the pistol and the next round, but then Loud got 3, and then a bit of back and forth ends up having EG going all the way to round 24 to be able to close it out. Looking at the team MVPs, as I said, Giacomo, absolutely insane man. He went 58, 29, 15 for +9, and just seeing clips of him playing, man, this guy, he's insane. Him on Neon is just a treat to watch. Just seeing him with the movement, man. On the side of Loud, we have the man that was gonna get dropped apparently, but didn't end up happening. We have Les going 51, 36, and 13 for +15. So probably good for Loud to not drop him, as he was their best player during, most of the season and did have a pretty good performance here, but Loud just not able to close it out. Really rough loss on the side of Loud. They really needed this win, and this team especially was one they needed to beat. This is one of the teams they are fighting for a playoff spot for. Definitely a rough loss within their group. It is unfortunate for them. They still have a chance at playoffs, but it is pretty slim. And now EG has a better record than them. They leapfrogged them in the standings and put themselves in a decent position to make the playoffs. We'll see if they can get there, and if they get there, if they can do anything. But EG, I'm telling you, there's something here. And it's kind of annoying to me because last year it was just like, man, they had this crazy Cinderella run, but then the organization just dumps all those players. I don't want this org to do well, but it's really hard to not cheer for these players. Giacomo, he is such a treat to watch. It'd be a shame to not see this man at Champions. Moving on, we have our last match of the weekend, and that was G2 versus C9. Now, this match was a rematch of the only playoff match that C9 played. Starting G2's run to qualify for Shanghai, G2 beat them 2-0. C9 looking for a bit of revenge, but it would not come today. 2-1 victory in favor of G2. Looking at map 1, we have Ascent, which was a 13-11 win in favor of G2. C9 would have the upper hand in the first half, ending the half 8-4, but then G2 flipped it on them. 9 round wins on their defense side. G2 are pretty solid on their defense side. But then on Icebox, C9 looked much better. They would win the first 9 rounds in a row, ending the half 10-2. G2 would win the pistol, but it didn't matter much. C9 only needed 3 and they would get it. Then on the last map on Lotus, it looked like C9 was going to do exactly the same thing, but G2, man, that defense side. G2 would win the first 3 rounds on their attack side, but then C9 would take a very strong lead, winning the next 7 rounds and then ending the half on a win. 8-4 at the half. They're in control. They should be able to close it out. They don't need that many round wins on their attack side on a map that is generally attacker-sided. But the thing about G2, and I've said this about them in the past, what's good about their Lotus is the fact that they're really good on defense, and they crush C9 on it. 9 rounds in a row, not allowing C9 to get a single round to win. Absolute chef's kiss. Incredible performance by G2 to bring it back. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of G2, we have a former C9 member, Leaf, going 48, 43, and 19 for +5. And for C9, Rooney had a strong performance going 42, 34, and 25 for +8. Very solid win for G2. They had an up and down stage 1, but they looked a lot better during playoffs and at Shanghai. And this win shows that maybe they didn't need a lot of rest time after Shanghai to continue to be a very good team. We'll see how the rest of the stage goes for both these teams. C9 still have a very good record. I wouldn't be too worried if you're a C9 fan. It's all about who makes playoffs, so we'll see what happens there. But G2, they put themselves in a very strong position. We'll see how the rest of the split goes for both of these teams, but I am confident that we will see both of these teams in playoffs and maybe playing each other once again. Looking ahead, we have Super Week, so we have a lot of matches over the next week. Starting on Saturday, it's going to be an absolute gauntlet of matches, so I'll do my best to try to cover those as much as I possibly can. I was on vacation this weekend, so I had to watch these matches after I got back, but should get back in the groove of things. Sorry that this video is a little bit late, but thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought of these matches so far. Please click like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.